Welcome in to the second part of this short series. I'm Chief Editor Jordan Bishop, and I'm joined by Jim.
Hi, how you doing, Jordan?
Good, Jim. It's great to have you. So we already talked about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Now I want to talk about the currency market, right? Because there's huge things happening all over the world. We touched on the dollar and how much that's sinking. Of course, when that goes down, other things go up.
Right.
So I want to mention in the past few weeks, you've sort of handed me a few hot currency tips, and I'm curious as to where you get them from. Where's this info?
Well, I've handed you a few, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But is there a reason we can't get these out to the regular people?
Yeah. Well, this goes back to what I said in the previous video. I think I some trades you give out trades using the systems we use, and other things are more. Look, currency trading is about the news,
right?
And like you said, with the dollar is going down, everything else is going up. Everything's paid against the dollar. But the point is that anyone who can trade currencies who watches the news, because news is not like a fixed market, as it were, like stocks or other things. Like the currency market is a very free market, and it dwarfs the stock market in terms of its size.
Yeah.
And nobody, see, in the currency market, nobody cares if you win or not, because it's just so huge. But it's driven by news. Federal Reserve makes an announcement, right? Raises interest rates, lowers interest rates. A country is announcing something, and that is massively going to swing the currency.
Right.
But there's news and there's news. So it's the sort of news you see on television or even on Reuters or other these highly accurate paid services is one thing, but that's mainstream. But then there's having contacts who are getting the news faster than other people. Because if you think about it, if let's say one government announces, Bank of England says they're going to lower interest rates, whatever, and so the pound is going to go down,
right?
Then, so that's going to move the exchange rate, but whoever gets that first gets, and you can make profit in the currency markets from the smallest decimal places if you're leveraged and know what you're doing, and so the person who gets ahead of the curve on the news flow is going to be the one who makes the easy money, like the 100% sure thing money, and that's what because I've been round here this last week in the holidays, and I've been showing you, I think.
When you're here,
some of those currency trades, and I think it's a bit different to what you're used to.
Yeah.
With the speed, I think is what I think. He's talking about the speed of that. What is and not because like I'm sitting there with a computer or anything, but because I'm again through a contact. I'm who's getting the news faster than other people.
Right.
Like what you saw and what's intrigued you, I think, is the fact that this was over in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Not if that, and the profit that you get. In that time, and that's purely because it's the news. I'm getting the news faster because I have an insider contact,
right?
And it's a leveraged trade,
right? I mean, much quicker than we could get an email alert out like we do for regular stocks.
Right.
By the time we've scheduled that trade would be over.
Right.
We're used to like the people who are on Wall Street Bounty Hunter, who we do the overnight trades. I thought that was quick.
It's like that. So what happened was, just to get into the story. So I set up a demo account for Jordan just to show you, because I was in the office, and I'm doing this, and I showed you a demo account, and you can show people the account if you want.
Yeah.
I mean, showing you the trades is one thing, but I turned, in the space of I think 4 trades, I turned $100,000 into $196,000.
Yeah.
And you saw that, and you can show people that if you want. I mean, what I can't do is let people have that kind of trade,
right?
Because again, that would be, betraying a trust, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. That's understandable. You got to understand these questions arise when you get an average profits of 30%.
Right.
Each trade.
It's not from the tiniest movements in the fastest time as well. That's that is
So with as you said, it dwarfs the stock market, the currency market. There's $5 trillion a day traded. So it's the speed of information. When I'm looking at these currencies, they move the smallest amount.
Yes.
But you mentioned leverage.
Right.
So what sort of leverage are we talking here? I mean, I've heard.
It's like 4 times.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can leverage your accounts so that if it moves 10%, you're getting as if it's moved 40%.
Okay.
And so you don't need much movement to make
Right.
a large amount of money.
Right.
You know.
So it's as if a stock moved 10 cents, or you know,
Right.
say you had
Right.
however many shares.
Yeah. So you're talking about decimal
Right.
points. Is that all you need? You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why so many people ignore this market? Maybe because it looks like it doesn't really move too much. I mean, leverage is.
Yeah, it can definitely be deceptive. You know, you could. Well, the dollar's hardly moved if you go to your regular exchange rate type thing. But I'm
Yeah.
talking about, you know, you're like 3-4 decimal
Right, magnifying
places.
it.
And like I say, it's very fast and short term, and it's, you know, I get a call, and then it's within the next few minutes, it's all over.
Yeah, I mean, I the other day you got a call and I got excited because I thought it was another trade, but it was just a normal
Right, yeah.
personal call. So
Right.
that's how exciting this stuff is. I mean, it's great stuff, but obviously with the speed of it, like you said, you've got to act on it in and out.
Right. Yeah.
Before,
It's very fast.
So I'm sure there's a few close people, you know, like I've experienced a couple times that
Yeah.
you're handing this information, not the information, but the action.
Right. I mean, I'm happy to hook up my friends.
Right.
Because that doesn't create a legal, you know.
Right.
I mean, again, so I'm bound by the fact that, you know, I think we even have it in our terms and conditions that I can't act upon the information I'm giving to my customers.
Right. Yeah.
Which kind of sucks for me.
It does, yeah.
I want to make money. you know?
Yeah.
And I'm bound to act on, I'm bound to act on my contacts, and I would also, I can't really pass on to public what they're telling me either.
Right.
And I mean, let's be honest, I'm going to save the best for myself, aren't I? You know, rather than give it away.
Right.
I mean, I'm not a saint.
Yeah.
But having said that, I think, you know what you're doing already is well, the results speak for themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just the last
4 months, 400%.
Yeah.
up.
I mean, so you know, I don't want to, you know, that doesn't in any way affect what we're doing is amazing. I'm just saying that there was another level that has to stay among friends.
Yeah, I mean, if we weren't doing what we were doing here, you know, it might be a different story. But you know, obviously there's that extra that you're able to act on.
Sure.
So everybody talks about George Soros when it comes to the currency market. They say he made $1 billion in a day.
Right.
As we've spoken about, it's sort of misleading a little bit.
So that's the famous story, and it is true. You know, George Soros made $1 billion in a day by shorting, by betting against the British pound. But what the missing detail of that story is that he bet $10 billion to make this. He was actually only got a 10% profit, which is kind of low actually in currency moves. I mean, I'm 20 to 30% each trade.
Right.
I mean, and you've seen that. You've got the demo account there that I've showed. Just to show it to you. I think that's what, you know, because it's piqued your interest. There's another game that goes on here that even George Soros isn't playing. You know, he's just that's a brand name.
Right.
You know, and it's a bit like Warren Buffett. I mean, you know, it's a name that people have latched onto, but even those guys are not. There's chump change what they're doing. I mean,
Buffett does 16% a year, and like I said,
Buffett makes 16% a year.
Yeah.
This is the famous guru.
Yeah.
Well, your trades alone are like averaging 18%, and you're doing them like every week.
Exactly. Yeah.
So so there's a lot of, remember, there's the sheep and the media, and you have to see past. You know, backstage there was another game being played, and you're most people aren't even on the stage, let alone looking backstage.
Yeah.
And that's because you're being manipulated by the media, told what to think. And, you know, if you behave like one of the sheep, you're going to end up in the slaughterhouse. You know? And that's really a decision you have to make. Are you just one of the morons who, when the news says something scary, that you just freeze up and do nothing? Or do you see past the nonsense and the manipulation and think, where's the opportunity? Right? And that's the difference, to be honest, between the rich and the poor.
Yeah. You can see why these people on, let's say, the inner circle, let's call it, you can see why they keep it sort of under wraps, because they can't just let anyone back there backstage.
Well, exactly. Well, you can't. Well, if there's no more sheep, then how do you make the money?
Yeah.
Right? Because where do you think, if I'm making money on a currency trade, for example, where am I making that money from? Someone's got to be losing it. And that person losing it is one of the sheep who's watching the news and acting like the masses, like the masses are right now, who are just, you know, and have been, just frozen up from fear from one thing after another. The media keeps not to do. I mean, these are very real things. Of course, there's an election. Of course, there's a virus. It's not to say they don't exist, but you can't control events. You've got to see past that and say, okay, so what do I do then?
Right.
But what the typical, so honestly, it's a primal reaction. It comes from ancient times where danger, danger, danger. That's a natural instinct to freeze, right? Just stop what you're doing, because we don't want to walk over a cliff. We don't want to walk into fire. But in modern times, that ancient instinct is working against you, and that, to be honest, in trading, that's that ancient feel. And the other thing I'll tell you about the ancient, because this is in my new book that's just come out, is that because for 2.5 million years we thought there really was no tomorrow. So we've always thought that tomorrow will be just like today.
Yeah.
And that's what you hear. We heard it in 9/11. You heard it during COVID. Everybody's saying, "Oh, the world will never be the same again." But of course it does. The world still turns.
Right.
But right now, everyone's thinking, "Oh, well, the world's going to be the same again." We had this before. We had it in 2008, financial crisis. We had it in 2001, 9/11. But of course, the world is going to be different tomorrow, and that's where, again, separating the sheep from the players is they understand that. They understand that tomorrow will not be like today. That's in the depth of the COVID crisis, when the stock market cratered, the sheep were saying, "Oh, tomorrow will be just like today." The players were going, "Thank you very much, I'll take that money."
Cheap assets, yeah.
Right, yeah.
So just to go back to the sort of getting in the inner circle, getting backstage, there is a bridge that people can cross to get over to the other side. What sort of characteristics does it take? I mean, as you said, not being scared like that, not being set in fear.
Right.
What would you say is the most important thing that?
Well, you've got to know people.
Right.
You know, like I said, the mentality is one thing, but you've also got to know people.
Yeah.
Contacts help, obviously, and reciprocating with your contacts. You know, being respectful of contacts.
Right.
You know, building your network. Look, don't just take. You got to give. You know, and don't be a fool. Right. If someone's hooking you up, you don't disrespect them. You're kind. You're respectful. You do them a favor back. And so, yeah, that has got to be your part. But the first step is the right mindset. No, that's what I'm talking about, the sheep.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, just knowing that there is this opportunity there in the first place.
Right.
Is obviously massive.
That's being able to see past what's going on instead of freezing up like the deer in the headlights, because there's this and there's always going to be something.
Yeah.
The media is always going to put something in front of you to
job.
try. Their job is to. That is like you just said. It's that statement alone is huge.
Yeah.
The day you understand that the media's job, who can like have such control, right? The media's job is to scare the living daylights out of you. And COVID-19 gave them the ball and they ran with it.
Yeah.
I mean, not to discount it again, but boy, did they ran with that one.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be something, or they don't make money unless you're, especially with the internet. The algorithms are writing the headlines.
Right.
If you keep clicking on something, that's telling the media to write more of the same. You know, I just had a friend last night who was telling me, you know, I clicked on this one article about death or funerals or something, and that's all she sees now. It's just death and gloom. You know, about funerals. It's like her news feed is like an obituary now.
Right.
You know, because you just clicked on one thing about funerals or something. You know.
Yeah.
So just be careful what you click on. And you're digging yourself this this hole.
Yeah.
And you're being manipulated. You know?
In the same way, though, if you chase positivity and you embrace positivity, it could compound.
Right. Absolutely.
That's what you'll start seeing.
Right.
You know?
Shift your thinking, shift your perspective. Don't be a patsy. You know, stop being used. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, and that's why you've taken yourself to this place you're in right now with all the contacts, because you've taken these words of advice.
Right, because these people aren't, you know, you're networking, you're building your contacts, insider sources. They're not even going to want to speak to you. They're not going to have you in the room if they can, you know, you act like one of the sheep and are skeptical, and why would they bother? They don't have to help you out.
No.
You know?
And they can smell it from a mile away.
Yeah, they can smell fear, they can smell skepticism, all these things that keep the sheep in the pen.
Yeah.
Right? They'll smell you a mile off, and you won't even be allowed in the circle.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end of the second part of this short series. Jim, thank you so much for all this information.
Thanks for having me.
See you next time.